What's the signal in this?
I don't really know. It seems that Cerberus, which is a distressed investor, has bought into this bull trade in Europe, especially with respect to the banks. Deutsche is a troubled institution. It has been mismanaged for a long time. There was a fascinating article in Der Spiegel going through all of this. And I just don't know how this is going to turn out, because most of the core of the Deutsche Bank business over the last couple of decades has been London.
Yeah. In
a lot of respects, Brexit was the worst thing that could have happened to them, because they don't have much of a German banking franchise. They're really a derivative shop, capital market shop, and they have just gotten done cutting that to try and align revenues with expenses. So I think it's a very speculative trade.
From 35,000 feet, what I would expect private equity to be doing in Europe would be to look at a place like Italy, find a small bank,
yes,
load it up with NPLs that you can go into, clean up and do a ton of work with very, very quickly, something more nimble. I wouldn't have thought Deutsche Bank, so I'm just trying to get my head around private equity and what they can play around with in a company like Deutsche Bank.
Well, you really asked the right question, which is they've been out in the capital markets for months trying to raise equity, not preferred. They really wanted to raise common equity because the terms on a preferred issue would have been punitive. And so apparently the only credible institutional investor that they could attract was Cerberus. So that does not fill me with great confidence. I think ultimately, Europe is a very debtor-friendly place. You were talking about Italy. I wouldn't want to do distressed in Italy because as a creditor, you have very few rights. The courts are politicized. There's no bankruptcy system, as you know very well, David. There's no process there to resolve. Well,
the process exists. It just takes a whole lot longer to get through than it does everywhere else.
Here you're talking years. In Europe, you're talking decades. Yeah. And the political willingness to engage on these issues is just not there. The one thing you can be sure Angela Merkel does not want to talk about is either Deutsche Bank particularly or banks in Europe in general.
Well, specifically with respect to Deutsche Bank, it strikes me that the most important thing you said was distressed investor. Because often they'll go in when they say, you know what, it's bad enough, something's got to give. I don't know, I may not know exactly what it's going to be, but something's going to turn around. And one of the great assets Deutsche Bank has is its name.
Probably the only asset, David.
As long as it's Deutsche Bank, the German government's not going to let it go too far south. So might that not be a smart, distressed investment?
It might, but it's much like the situation we have with Citi. Deutsche Bank's management has to tell us what the business is going forward. How are they going to make money? How are they going to manage risk, continue to clean up, for example, litigation they're still facing from 10 years ago. They just settled their U.S. mortgage claims earlier this year. So there's a lot of questions here. And Cryan, to his credit, has been doing enormous efforts to get things stable so he has the opportunity to consider the future. I think right now is about stabilizing this franchise. I would like to see them not have to go out for more money. That's really the issue.